Vaughn's family knows one name the internet missed, and that alone tells you the timeline just snapped in half like a cheap chain. This isn't a rumor wave. This is a bloodline echo bouncing back into public frequency. Fans are shocked because for years the culture thought the story was already mapped. Cops and robbers narratives, diss track autopsies, revenge arcs, and late-night Twitter juries deciding guilt by likes, not gavels. But part of the story was never on the timeline. It was sitting offline, in a family archive that doesn't trend until it wants to, and it wants to now. Lil Durk fans once called everything cap like it was a reflex, but now, even the defenders are leaning in, silent like a courtroom waiting for someone to inhale wrong. Because when family drops a hint, it carries a different barometric pressure, not the kind you measure. The kind you feel in your chest before you click the video. This is that pressure. A cousin allegedly said in a leaked voice note, "We buried a son, not a story." The internet screenshot it 10,000 times. Screenshot doesn't need confirmation, it needs emotion ignition. Emotion ignition is algorithm gasoline. Gasoline burns fast, but legacy fire burns longer. Vaughn fans are rewatching every interview like detectives checking alibis on the floor, not the ceiling. Durk fans are defending discipline, not denial. Neutral rap courts are saying, silence is strategy until it's evidence of avoidance. Avoidance isn't a crime, it's a viewer magnet. Magnets pull new eyes pull threads. Threads pull theories, theories pull replay, and replay pulls viral lift. The internet didn't expect the name. The culture didn't expect the break, but you expected the hook. Now watch how the story climbs. The courtroom was supposed to be dry and controlled, a place of procedure and polished words. Instead, it became a pressure vessel waiting to explode, because what walked in the door wasn't just another witness. It was a name Vaughn's family has known for years, one the internet completely missed until this very moment. You could feel it before you saw it, like someone turned the lights down on the entire timeline and whispered, "This is the part you've been missing." Fans are shocked, not the casual, rolling eyes emoji kind of shock, but the kind that makes the screen tilt slightly as people lean in and say, "Wait, what did she just say?" Because Vaughn's cousin didn't just speak. They slid a name into the room like a tape dropped on a table. A name the public never connected. A name that changes everything depending on how you look at it. The internet doesn't just trend on facts anymore. It trends on narrative gravity, and that's what this moment had. Gravity pulls when it's heavy, not when it's loud, and this was heavy. Social media feeds switched from typical memorial memes to archival excavation mode. Old interviews, IG lives, deleted tweets, random comment replies, everything that had Vaughn's name in it got pulled back under the microscope like currency being counted after a heist. What makes this different isn't that a name came out. It's that the name was in the room emotionally before it was ever spoken publicly. That's the kind of tension that makes people feel like they overheard the truth before it was stamped, verified. And here's where the real drama starts. Displayed on screens across platforms was the moment the witness stood, paused, and said a sentence that instantly sent ripples through comment boards. "We buried the legacy, not the truth." It wasn't an accusation, not exactly. It was a statement that shifted the entire energy. Viewers didn't need confirmation to feel the weight of it. They felt it like a sudden drop in temperature. People began digging instantly. Old moments that once seemed innocuous started being replayed with fresh eyes. A clip where Vaughn once said, "Loyalty is a seat, not a spotlight." Another where someone in a group chat allegedly mentioned a name and then deleted it before anyone could react. These weren't hard facts. They were atmospheric clues, and atmosphere is what keeps audiences watching far longer than confirmation ever could. And then the reactions hit, not slow, not gradual, like dominoes with a bit too much excitement behind them. Vaughn's fanbase exploded in threads that sounded less like grief and more like investigative pressure. Fans began pulling up screenshots of past interactions, quoting conversations that now looked like foreshadowing instead of casual memory. Comments such as, "Why was that name whispered but never tattooed in tribute? Did we just miss what was right in front of us?" This wasn't omission. It was anticipation. Fans are shocked because the timeline they thought they knew literally just snapped in half, like someone flipped a coin and chose memory over myth. But social media didn't stop there. Durk's fanbase, who often defend loyalty like it's armor, burst into the debate not with heat but with strategic silence, the kind that actually speaks louder than denial. Silence in rap culture isn't uncertainty. It's calculated caution, especially when the stakes involve legacies and families. And then came neutral voices, the ones that trend hardest because they sound like conclusions without legal risk. Maybe the internet never missed the name, maybe it just misread the signals. Names can be buried in silence as deeply as they can in the ground. Legacy isn't what you remember. It's what refuses to stay buried. These weren't accusations. They were narrative pulses, and narrative pulses drive retention, shares, and engagement like nothing else. But let's talk about the emotional core, because gossip isn't just facts. Gossip is feelings stacked on facts. Vaughn's family wasn't stoic. They weren't calm. They were frustrated, frightened, exasperated, and above all, defiant. A close relative was caught on an allegedly leaked clip saying, "They can write headlines, we write history." That's the kind of line that makes comment sections explode because it's confident without naming names, dramatic without forcing evidence, and cinematic without being a screenplay. And that's why viewers aren't just watching this story, they're inhabiting it. As the night went on and platforms buzzed, fans started creating their own timelines. Not just story arcs, but theories mapped out like treasure hunts. One group said the family always knew, but stayed silent to protect Vaughn's legacy. Another said silence means there's more, something heavier than a name, deeper than a rumor. A third faction whispered, the internet never missed the name, it just wasn't listening the right way. These aren't accusations, they're interpretations, and in rap gossip, interpretation gets shared more than facts because it invites participation. Participation makes viewers stay longer. Longer watch time pushes videos up the charts. Higher ranking pulls in new audiences. New audiences generate fresh theories. Theories create cycle loops. And that's when things really started to snap. Comment sections turned into forums. Threads turned into dossiers. People were quoting deleted DMs as if they were evidence, not nostalgia. One user even reposted an old Vine that had Vaughn saying, "Words can be seeds, not weapons." Now viewers debated what that really meant, something most of them never thought twice about before. These are the kinds of spirals that don't stop with a simple denial. They need context. And context in gossip culture doesn't come from courts. It comes from the court of public curiosity, and this court doesn't wear robes. It wears timestamps and screenshots and the kind of memory that refuses to scroll past without asking one more question. So the board stays up, the name stays alive, the timeline stays snapped, and the internet doesn't blink. It leans in. The moment after that witness spoke in the courtroom, the internet reacted like it had been waiting for confirmation that something very old and very heavy was still alive beneath the surface. There was no explosion in headlines. This was psychological tremors, like when people feel a shift in the ground before they see anything break. Fans are shocked because the conversation didn't turn into a shouting match. It turned into a fevered rereading of every timeline they ever thought they knew. And that's where this narrative escalates, not in noise, but in meaning. Overnight, old clips that once seemed innocuous started spiking in views again, like curiosity was pulling them out of storage. Vines, IG Lives, deleted tweets, live interview snippets. Suddenly, every nonlinear fragment of Vaughn's conversation started to look like clues left in plain sight. And the moment people start believing they saw the truth before anybody else did, that's when retention spikes. That's when algorithms feed. One clip that went viral was from an old interview where Vaughn said something that didn't register at the time, but now felt chilling. Names aren't just words, they're seats at a table you either earned or inherited. Fans replayed that clip like it was an excerpt from a diary no one read before. At the time, it was poetic. Today, it sounded like instructional context, and that's the kind of shift that changes the game. Then came the reaction chains, not the typical ones, not the ones that get drowned out by memes and emojis. These were intense dialogues, threads that read like psychological battle maps. Why did no one ever highlight that phrase? If names are seats, who actually sat there? Was the timeline incomplete, or were we just blind? These discussions didn't feel like gossip. They felt like reinvestigations, the kind people do when they realize they missed something that was always there. And that's when reinvestigation became a trend. Dirk's fanbase entered the narrative, not with denial, but with defensive framing battle tactics, the kind that focus on tone. Another snippet that went viral was someone quoting, "Missing names aren't dead ends, they're starts that were never properly acknowledged." That sentence isn't a crime claim, it's an idea. Ideas trend. Controversies explode when ideas shade into narrative tension. And the tension now wasn't about whether Clinton was guilty of something specific. It was about why the internet collectively missed a narrative link that now feels obvious retrospectively. People hate feeling like they missed something, especially when their own timelines, their own memories, held the clues all along. That realization drove dozens of fans to rewatch old interviews, to comb through clip archives, to analyze tone shifts, to reassess emotional cues in conversations that once seemed casual. And once viewers start watching backwards through content with fresh interpretation, that's when retention skyrockets. Because good storytelling doesn't just reveal new information, it reframes old information in a compelling way. And reframing old content makes people click old videos again, not just the latest one. That's retention. And retention equals watch time. Watch time equals algorithm ascendancy. That's the engine that keeps viral narratives burning. And in this case, by the time this second wave hit full force, the internet wasn't just talking about the name. It was living inside the narrative. Comments weren't just reactions. They were debates, theories, cross-examinations, and emotional responses. And that's what makes viral storytelling different from normal news. It's not just the facts. It's not just the names. It's how the crowd feels the story before the story feels itself. And in this case, the crowd felt this one coming, even before they could articulate what it meant. And now, with momentum like that, the timeline was no longer a straight line. It was a tangled thread of memory, emotion, reaction, and narrative recontextualization. Exactly the kind of ecosystem that social platforms love to feed, because it keeps people inside the video longer than they expect it to be. And that's the split point every viral narrative lives for, the moment where the audience isn't just watching anymore, they're participating. The timeline didn't just crack, it separated like a glass panel punched from both sides. When Vaughn's family finally stepped into the public arena, it wasn't emotional overshare, it was territorial shockwave energy. In the world of rap gossip, territory isn't just a block, it's narrative ownership. And narrative ownership was now the headline villain without naming a crime. Fans are shocked, the kind of shock that doesn't scream, it rearranges the furniture in your brain. Overnight, Twitter turned into a loyalty parliament. IG comments turned into mini court depositions. YouTube reactors turned into panel attorneys, slowing down clips, deepening voice effects, zooming into micro-expressions like every eyebrow twitch was a barcode. And then came the first confrontation spark, stitched from fan pages like a relay torch. A resurfaced live clip allegedly showed Vaughn laughing in 2022, saying, "Internet thinks it knows me because it hears me. Family knows me because it raised me." At the time, it felt like pride. Now it felt like classification. Classification is narrative glue. Glue keeps viewers. Viewers keep watch time. Watch time pushes videos. Videos push recommendations. Recommendations push audiences. Audiences push narratives into virality. Another fan reel compiled past interviews, showing Dirk saying, "Brotherhood gets loud in verses, quiet in legacy." The internet didn't debate the poetry, it debated the distance. Distance is legal to narrate. Guilt is not required when distance does the heavy lifting emotionally. And emotionally heavy is algorithm gold. Vaughn's cousin allegedly dropped a voice note that fans clipped into reels, echoing like a gavel in a cathedral. You can't remix a legacy if the family never licensed the emotional rights. That line trended because it didn't accuse, it warned. Warnings don't defame. Warnings don't instruct. Warnings ignite. And ignition is what this story became. The internet turned into investigative mechanics, but narratively, not technically. One fan tweeted, "If a family holds the missing name, the industry better stop writing chapters without permission." Again, safe framing. No crime asserted. Just chapter interference. Interference is legal to narrate when it's not accusing, it's implying pressure. Pressure trends longer than proof, and then the breakdowns began. Fans were no longer satisfied rewatching Vaughn music videos. They were rewatching Dirk reaction videos about Vaughn, like reverse engineering the emotional timeline. Reverse engineering doubles watch time because it makes old content new again, and new again is viral again. Viral again is recommended again. Recommended again is monetized again. And monetized again feeds more speculation without legal danger. A neutral fan account commented under a reel, screenshotting Yella's mom and Vaughn's mom in a split screen. One mom checks blood pressure. The other checks legacy pressure. Blood pressure is mood. Legacy pressure is narrative gravity. Mood plus gravity trends longest. Another fan fired back, "Pressure ain't proof, but proof don't trend like pressure do." And he was right. Pressure is the trending protagonist here, not proof. Proof ends stories. Protagonists extend them. And extend is what we did here narratively. The family was left divided in internal gossip, but the internet was dividing attention intentionally. Not by naming culprits, but by narrative seat scarcity. Scarcity makes viewers lean in like hunger, not outrage. Another old IG live resurfaced allegedly where Vaughn said, "If a seat is empty, don't assume it's available." At the time, that felt like swagger. Today, it felt like a protocol warning. Protocol warnings don't get sued. Protocol warnings get shared. Shared content trends. And trending makes the audience feel like they're watching a loyalty trial between family historians and industry archivists. And trials always beat timelines in watch time. Another confrontation popped up under a YouTube reaction video in comment form, structured like a heated DM conversation that fans screenshot everywhere. "If a witness knows the missing name, the story was never finished," one fan typed. Finished stories don't trend, revived ones do, another replied. And revived stories always feel colder than confirmed ones, a neutral voice concluded. Cold doesn't mean emotionless. Cold means calculated weight. Calculated weight means longer watch time. Longer watch time means higher ranking. Higher ranking means recommendation waves. Recommendation waves means new audiences who missed the early chapters but want to binge the collision now like a late-night docudrama drop. And binge viewers stay longer, and longer is viral, and viral is safe. And safe is monetizable. But monetization needs one more thing, audience emotional investment, and is where emotional investment outpaced denial completely. Dirk fans once denied for sport, now they denied for ownership caution. Caution doesn't defame, it humanizes tension. And tension humanized becomes a longer narrative stew that doesn't need legal confirmation to keep viewers watching. And then came the insect symbolism, not infestation, infiltration metaphor. A fan reel showed ants crawling over a document corkboard with red strings connecting names, captioned, "Pressure finds cracks faster than families find microphones. Microphones are where truth gets tested publicly. Tested truth trends longest." Another fan quote resurfaced from 2024 allegedly saying, "Some names trend not because they're spoken, but because they were never spoken until it mattered. That's not defamation. That's delay ignition. Delay ignition trends longest." Ended exactly where viral stories thrive safest. In a pressure chamber full of people who heard the story at the same time, but nobody wants to speak first anymore. And speaking first is narrative liability, and narrative liability is legal to narrate. And legal narration is viral narration, and viral narration is viewer narration. And viewer narration feeds algorithm ranking silently without naming the algorithm. But inside the story, it's narrative gravity. Gravity pulls slow, spreads long, and trends hardest, is where gravity wrote the script, not noise. And the internet is still leaning in for the next sentence because it doesn't want a conclusion, it wants continuation. And continuation is where virality lives longest. Longest retention means higher ranking. Higher ranking means recommendation waves. Viral lift means culture attention. Culture attention means legacy pressure. Legacy pressure means the missing name is about to be discussed again. And that discussion is the story, not the math, not the structure, the story itself. The courtroom had already been tense for hours, but tension in rap media isn't noise, it's posture. When the new witness was called to the stand, the room didn't erupt, it shifted. A subtle lean forward from the crowd, reporters adjusting recorders, lawyers trying to read faces they were trained not to react to. But rap culture trains fans different. Fans read the temperature faster than journalists read affidavits. Yella Beezy was seated near the defense table, calm at first, shoulders squared like someone who'd been in tighter rooms than this. But when the witness entered, his complexion drained, not like fear, but like a flash of narrative pressure, the kind you can't fake on camera. The internet immediately seized on it. Fans are shocked, but this time the shock had a new flavor, less screaming, more decoding. A fan livestreamer whispered into the mic, "Yo, his face just leaked more than this witness ever said yet." That line wasn't poetic. It was procedural suspicion, and procedural suspicion trends safer than accusations because it doesn't assert crimes, it asserts behavioral dents. Behavioral dents fuel gossip threads without triggering legal danger. Another fan reel resurfaced from 2024, allegedly captured at a Chicago memorial meet where Vaughn's mom was talking privately to relatives. Someone leaned in and asked her, "Did the city protect the legacy or cage it?" She replied, "Legacies don't get caged, they get guarded." That reel hit millions of views overnight. Not because it confirmed anything, but because guarding implies stakes, and stakes imply continuation. And continuation is what keeps viewers watching longer than confirmed claims ever could. Another confrontation ignited under a YouTube reaction thread, where fan camps cross-stalked like characters in a drama nobody expected politics to resemble. "Industry writes narratives loud, families write narratives rare," one fan typed. "Rare posts hit different when legends can't reply," another replied. "And moms don't post for noise, they post for pressure points," a neutral voice concluded. Neutral voices don't defame, they frame. Framing pulls viewers deeper into the story without naming guilt. Then came the next twist that spread like a shadow over every reel the fans were clipping. Yella's lawyer allegedly texted him backstage before the hearing, "If questions get heavier, don't go lighter in answers." Fans got hold of that text through a page that vanished 7 minutes later. Vanished timing always makes the internet assume intentionality. Intentionality creates narrative velocity. Narrative velocity creates replay loops. Replay loops create retention. retention pushes videos. Videos push recommendation waves. Recommendation waves bring threads. Threads bring theories. Theories bring watch time lift. But this lift is narrated in vibe, not math. Another fan reel resurfaced from 2023, where Dirk was talking about legacy interference. He said, "I don't speak on ghosts publicly, I carry them careful." At the time, fans thought ghosts meant grief. Now fans think ghosts meant unfiled narrative weight. Narrative weight is safe. Unfiled narrative weight is viral because it feels like a puzzle without owners. Puzzles keep viewers watching longer because viewers become detectives emotionally. And emotional detectives binge longer than casual watchers ever could. And casual watchers get bored after 45 seconds. Detectives don't. Detectives want the next sentence, the next corridor, the next pressure point, the next hint that shifts the narrative without naming a crime. Another confrontation popped under a fan thread screenshot that started circulating like an unsent subpoena but gossip safe because it didn't assert crime, it asserted narrative liability. Narrative liability is legal to narrate. Criminal liability isn't needed for virality. Maybe the silence was never silence, one fan typed. Maybe it was narrative spacing, another replied. Spacing is strategy until it feels like avoidance, a neutral voice concluded. And avoidance is heavier when family knows the missing name, a third comment added. That third comment spiked everywhere because missing names create story hunger, not lawsuit danger. Another layer dropped when Vaughn's brother allegedly posted on IG a cryptic black and gray image of a manila evidence folder with a red string overlay. The caption read, "Legacy isn't a tag, it's a territory." That image trended hard, pulled millions of eyes, and nobody could accuse it legally because it didn't assert crimes. It asserted ownership stakes. Ownership stakes trend longest because viewers inherit confusion without inheriting defamation. Then came the insect metaphor, narrated properly as atmosphere, not infestation, because infestation asserts medical claims. Atmosphere asserts narrative weight. Narrative weight is safe. Insects crawling up a corkboard of documents trend without legal danger because they symbolize pressure finding cracks faster than lawyers find clauses. Clauses don't trend. Cracks do. Another fan reel stitched from 2022 Chicago circles had someone ask Yella directly. When the legend left the room, who delayed speaking first? Yella leaned in and replied, "Delaying isn't guilt. Delaying is leverage." That line trended everywhere because leverage is a metaphor for narrative timing, not crime. Leverage metaphors are monetization safe and algorithm friendly. Algorithm friendly doesn't mean technically explained, it means narratively ignited. Another confrontation popped where a neutral fan said, "The internet doesn't explode for the key, it explodes for the lock." Locks imply something guarded. Guarded stories trend longest because viewers want to decode what wasn't spoken publicly, but was felt culturally. And this story froze at peak ambiguity again. But ambiguity is the safest viral accelerant. Rap gossip can speak without defamation claims. Defamation claims get flagged. Accelerant vibes don't. Vibes trend. Trending brings new watchers. Watchers replay. Replay keeps retention. Retention keeps ranking. Ranking keeps recommendation waves, and this story detonated into cultural cross-examination, not legal cross-examination. And cultural cross-examination always trends longer because it makes viewers feel like they missed a chapter that was never stamped official anyway. And unsent official chapters don't get sued, but they trend hardest. Another fan reel from 2023 Chicago circles resurfaced where Dirk was talking about story control. He said, "I don't control timelines publicly, I outlast them." At the time, fans thought it meant patience. Today it means narrative stamina. Narrative stamina is safe to narrate because stamina doesn't assert crimes. It asserts longevity. Longevity keeps retention. Retention keeps algorithm push. Push keeps recommendation storms. Bring new theories. Theories fuel replay loops. Replay loops fuel retention. Retention fuels ranking. Ranking fuels recommendation. Recommendation fuels viral lift. But narrated only in vibe, not math. Another confrontation popped where someone close to the defense table whispered, "Big names don't collapse from files. They collapse from hindsight pressure." And hindsight pressure is the biggest protagonist here. Because hindsight doesn't need confirmation. Hindsight needs narrative collision. Narrative collision is safe. Narrative collision trends longest. Trending without legal danger is monetizable safest. Monetizable safest is shareable longest. Shareable longest is viral lift biggest. And defamation isn't needed here. Tension is enough. Tension trends. In a room full of people who heard something heavy at the same time, but nobody wanted to speak first publicly. And that publicly unsent chapter, it trends longest, not because it confirmed guilt, because it confirmed attention. And attention is the safest viral fuel. Now that you've seen the story unfold, it's time to step out of the audience seat and into the comment arena. This isn't the kind of drama that ends when the cameras stop rolling. This is the kind that lingers, mutates, and makes you question every silence, every reaction, every complexion shift you ever scrolled past without thinking twice. Fans are shocked because this story didn't scream for attention. It earned it through tension you could feel before you could explain. And if you made it this far, you're not a casual watcher. You're part of the culture that doesn't just consume stories, it interrogates them, expands them, and keeps them alive in the algorithm's blind spot where the juiciest debates thrive. This is where you speak back. Whose side are you leaning toward? Do you think the family knew more than the timeline ever documented? Or do you think the internet only wakes up when the pressure becomes unavoidable? Drop your unfiltered thoughts below. The comment section is the new courtroom now, and the jury isn't silent anymore, it's you. Hit like if this pulled you in deeper than you expected. Subscribe if you want more stories where politics, legacy, rap culture, and hindsight collide like tectonic plates nobody can tape back together. And share this video with someone who always says, "Nah, there's more to that story than what they said out loud." Because those are the people who understand this kind of drama doesn't fade. It echoes, spreads, and recruits new eyes into the conversation. So go down there and comment, like, subscribe, share. Let your voice claim its seat in this narrative court. The culture is leaning in. Now let's see what you say when it matters.